you'd be doing this for 20 years?
I didn't give it much thought. I'm thrilled to be here, everybody. Go free enterprise.
Okay.
But yeah.
Okay. So after 20 years, your market capitalization is up about, I guess it's about 700%, and your stock price up about 500% or something like that?
Like 1,000%, but go ahead.
Right. How much?
We paid back, bought back a lot of stock and paid a lot of dividends and all that, so yeah.
So it's pretty good. So people are very happy. And so the question you get asked every day, 5 times a day, is how much longer do you want to do this? And the answer is 5 more years?
Yeah, at least.
About 5 more years?
I love what I do. It's up to the board how long I do it. As long as I have the energy and the spit in the eye and the fire in the gut, yeah, I want to do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you recently built a new building in New York. Why did you decide to build your headquarters in New York? You tore down the building you had, built a new building, took a couple years and cost maybe $3 billion or something like that, and it's now open. Are you happy you made that decision, and are you going to build a similar building in London now?
Yeah, we are. So if you look at what we have, we spend $40 billion a year on people, which is important, $4 billion a year on real estate. We want to have great real estate. The old building wasn't fit for purpose. It was too small, couldn't handle our trading floors. I looked everywhere. I looked downtown, I looked at Hudson Yards, I looked at buying Vanderbilt, but we could tear that building down, we could buy air rights. You know, I thought it was the best location in the best city, and then we should build it there. We're quite happy we did it. It's beautiful. It's got 14 places to eat, got Morgan's Pub, Guinness beer. It has sushi bars and hamburger and daily provisions. People like Danny Myers helped us make sure it had the right vibes when you go there. It's got sweet greens, 8 trading floors, full city blocks. Yeah, it's a beautiful place, and people like going there, and people are bringing their moms and dads and kids to show it. When you walk in, it's also got a big American flag up front blowing in the wind inside. And so, yeah, I love it.
So recently, you've been talking about the importance of the United States, and are celebrating our 250th, but also investing in things that are security related. What made you focus on that? And you're now going to commit, $1.5 trillion over the next 10 years for this kind of investment. Why did you decide to do that?
Yeah. So I've always been a patriot, and like, you talk here about growth, growing the economy and the grievances of America, which is a lot of legitimate ones we've got to deal with and get policy right. But one of them was this notion that we ended up being so reliant on other people, some potential adversaries, for things critical to the security of the United States. And it wasn't just us, it was our allies too. So we did some real research across 28 industry groups, and you're talking about rare earths, which you all know about, active pharmaceutical ingredients, which some of you may know about, obviously military production, drones, air, cyber, satellite. What are the things you need for resiliency? That we already did a lot of it, and we wanted to do more, realizing it was an important thing to do. How we got here, I don't like crying over spilled milk, but we should never have been here. So that's $1.5 trillion. My guess is it'll be quite a bit more than that by the time we're done. We've had a deluge of interest in it. Then we hired Todd Combs, who's just a world-class investor and a world-class person who's got his own deluge coming in to invest $10 billion and probably more, and we certainly probably have partners in that, in helping companies with growth capital they need to grow, to build the next plant or something. We did real research on supply chains. There are a lot of companies that provide what's important for basic, important military equipment that need help to grow. They could be private companies or bigger companies. There's a venture capital component. We're also going to do research. So think around the shipbuilding ecosystem, and policy. There are a lot of things that are wrong, or policy reasons, how we're allowed to procure in the military, things like permitting, EPA laws. If you want to keep this country safe and secure, we need to do this work, and we need to do it now and right away. It also will be extended to nations in Europe, Australia, Japan, South Korea, Australia, et cetera. And it's just important we do it. National security, if you didn't get the wake-up call in February when 300,000 Russian troops invaded Ukraine, the world's not safe. It was never safe. We just got lulled in a false sense of security. The biggest safe thing to have is the strongest military on the planet.
So, Jamie, you went to Harvard Business School, graduated as a Baker Scholar, top 5% of your class. You could have gone to Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley, all the famous firms. You chose to go work for a person who was a friend of your father's, name is Sandy Weil. You did that, and then when Sandy left, you stayed with him, and then ultimately you guys went to Citicorp, and then he fired you. And did you ever think then that you'd be coming back and running the most important bank in the world at the time you got fired there? Or what were you thinking at that time? And I said you should come into private equity. I went to see you, and I said, why don't you come to private equity? And you didn't seem that interested. But
the biggest money offer I ever got in my life was from this guy over here. It was never about money for me. And I knew after I got fired that they were going to screw up Citi, because I knew how stupid some of the things they were doing was. But no, I didn't think that way. I just, I took time. I thought about all these various alternatives. I spoke to a lot of people, and then I went to Bank One. I loved the Home Depot guys. They were talking to me, and but I had to confess to them when I walked in, I'd never been in a Home Depot until my friend made me go that weekend before I had dinner with Arthur Blank, Bernie Marcus, and Ken Langone. And I just loved their culture, but I'd never been in a merchant business, and I'd been on, kind of the Wall Street trading, insurance, et cetera. But Bank One was there. I thought it was going to be tough. I put half my money into it. I had moved my money to Chicago. I love Chicago. And all I thought about is just do the best you can. I mean, I don't like it when senior people complain. I always had a no whining sign. Suck it up and do the job. That's all it was. And I just go about the work, and division by division, person by person, department by department, tech by tech, try to build something great. I had my eye on JPMorgan Chase, and a couple of years, I thought it would never happen because we were so small and not doing well. But 4 years later, we had done a good job at Bank One. The values were close enough. Bill Harris and I know each other. We merged the two companies. Then I had a dream that if we did it right, we could make this a great company. Then I really did. That was.
What do you think is the most important thing you did that put JPMorgan ahead of every other bank in the world? What is it? Is it that you worked harder? You hired better people around you? What were the things that you think they're most important thing that made JPMorgan what it is today?
First of all, a lot of people do things better. So to say we're the best and everything is not right. And I think that's one of the reasons sometimes we do better a little bit, which is, I'm relentless. Detail, facts, analysis, no bullshitting, no meetings after meetings. Share all the information, put it on the table, put the dead cats on the table. Go through system by system by system by system. Get out in the road, visit other companies. They all do things better than you. Learn, and be relentless about doing it. Big companies slow down, they become complacent, they become bureaucratic, all that stuff, arrogant, is the petri dish of politics. As Jeff Bezos says, that kind of stuff leads to stasis and death. And if you don't believe me, you look at all the companies who failed, huge, wonderful companies. And it was because of things like that. So I'm kind of relentless about driving stuff. Nothing's too small to care about. So when I go around my company, I was listening to you talk about, Chris running Hilton. Nothing's too small to care about. Hey, Chris, I want to be able to read when I'm having shampoo or conditioner, okay? That's my one big beef. And also, one button to turn off all the lights when you get into these fancy rooms or something like that.
I know.
And you're tired and you're going to go to bed. So that's what management is. It's relentless attention to detail, getting strategy right, invest in your capital, not being beholden to people. But the most important is that the people at the company can contribute to the best of their ability. They know that you, the boss, don't know everything. And they know that you just want to do the right thing for the company, the client, or the community. And that's the only goal. There's no other goal. We don't pander to Wall Street about quarterly earnings or stuff like that. I've never spent any time in that in my life. Just try to do the right thing for the right reason and do it quickly.
Now, you used to, I don't know if you still do this, how technologically proficient you are, but you used to come in every morning with a list of things to do. You wrote it down on the handwriting.
I hesitate to do this because there's a TV out there, and so the TV's going to zoom in on it. I did that once with a credit card. They took my number and immediately got stolen by criminals. And yeah.
So,
does anything bad about the press on here?
Okay, so now many people in the business world, they're out socializing, all kinds of other organizations. You don't do anything. You just run your bank and you spend time with your family. Isn't that boring?
No. I love my family. I love all of them. I got 7 grandkids and 1 more coming. We take our family vacations together. That's the most important thing. The second most important thing is my country that I do spend time on. With my own time, my own effort. My company obviously gets involved. I love business. I think if she's talking about I don't do a lot of black ties. I don't play golf. I don't do red carpets. I do a little bit, but I love what I do. I mean, it's not like, I don't feel like I have any regrets at all about doing that. And I feel, if JPMorgan Chase does well, I can help our employees, I help my clients, I help my communities, I help my country, I help the world if I do a good job. I always tell people, if we don't keep JPMorgan healthy and vibrant, I cannot do those things. That's when the other side of that. You gotta lay people off, it's miserable, your life is terrible, and so I fight hard to make sure we're healthy and vibrant.
Now, you flirted at times with maybe running for president of the United States. Are you still thinking maybe you would ever do that?
Yeah, I never really flirted with it.
Oh.
I simply asked someone once, what does it entail?
Okay.
And they told me. That was it.
All right.
And it entails a lot.
Well,
I mean, it is a huge thing, but I love what I do, and this is what I intend to be doing.
Right.
So,
suppose a president of the United States said, I'd like you to be Secretary of the Treasury or Chairman of the Federal Reserve Board. What would you say to that?
Well, Chairman of the Fed, I'd put in the absolutely, positively, no chance, no way, no how, for any reason.
Okay.
Secretary of Treasury, I would consider, if a president calls you up and asks you to do something, you should consider it. So I would take the call and consider it and think about why and what they want, et cetera. But what they want and how they want to operate, that would be important to me. I like my job. I've been my own boss for pretty much 25 years, and I like it that way. I was in Peru at the APEC meeting or something like that, and I was coming on stage like this, a televised thing, and as I was walking up, the person who questioned me, I think it was from Bloomberg, said, the president just tweeted that he likes you or something like that, but you're not going to be Secretary of Treasury. And she asked me on national TV. So I said, that's good because I like being my own boss.
So when
we both like it that way.
When the Great Recession happened, were you worried about the viability of our financial system? Your bank was in pretty good shape. Were we worried that many investment banks and commercial banks were going to go under at that time?
Yeah. Well, a lot of them did. And yeah, a lot of companies around the world, a lot of non-banks around the world went bankrupt. JPMorgan, we did a lot to keep people afloat. We took a lot of risks to do that. We worked with governments around the world. It was terrifying. And it was, 24/7, and, people were just trying to do the right thing to make sure, we kept the...
Do you think there's a chance of something like that happening next couple of years? Do you think we're much better protected from that kind of problem?
Well, there's no chance that you're going to have that kind of problem, but, there are chances you'll have a problem somewhere, somehow. The biggest unknown is geopolitics, and it's not like, and you have to be dangerous and careful you talk about it. It's not like that's going to determine what the economy does in 2026, but it is a moving tectonic plate. Alliances, obviously there's terrible war in Ukraine, which we need to do as much as we can to help Ukraine, but aided and abetted by and Russia, somewhat by China. Those folks have told you what they want to do. They want to dismantle the system set up, they think, by America, but it's set up by the Western world. After World War II, it's been quite successful. Yeah, there are a lot of forces at play, and and people are going to have to choose, how they want to play this for now. So yeah, that would be my greatest concern, and that's about the future of the free democratic world. That's not just about America.
Are you worried about the over-regulation that some people in the banking world think that is occurring now, or do you think the regulations are okay now?
Yeah, my biggest, the problem with regulations, when you talk to some people, it's always act like it's more or less. Well, and a lot of you deal with regulations. I think you can create more liquidity in the system, more capital uses, more lending capability, reduce rules and regulations which cause, when there's complaints about debanking and complaints about X, I think we could make the system better, work better, cheaper, work for more Americans, and safer. And what bothers me the most is when we talk about regulations, that no one ever steps back and say, what are we trying to accomplish? Or why do we want to accomplish it? And what's better, this or that? Because no matter what you do, there are pros and cons. So take the system as, banks are very strong today, but take the system as a whole, we've gone from 8,000 public companies to 4,000 public companies. Is that what we wanted? Because that's what we did. We did it with no forethought, without even thinking about it. But it was, years of rules and regulations that made it costly and litigious and hard. And, we let institutions like ISS and Glass Lewis, vote 30% of the shares in America. And so, yeah, I'm quite concerned about that we get regulations right. We all want safe financial system, and safe food, and safe, but it doesn't mean you have to have endless regulations. Regulations should be reviewed and improved all the time, as opposed to what we do today. I put that in a lot of policy. We just add things on top of things. And if you look at policy in America, well, our affordable housing, it's all about policy. zoning policies, permitting policies, housing policies. It's all about policy. It's got not a damn thing to do that people don't want to build homes or move into homes. And I could say it's about a mortgage business. We made it more expensive because of rules and regulations. Education. We don't measure the outcomes of high schools and community colleges and colleges. How many jobs do they get at what income levels? And we can do it. So look at work skills. We're going to need 200,000 welders. We need welding schools. So if government's going to have policy, you should have policy that aids and abets and incents and has the guardrails to create the right behaviors, not endless policies that slow things down, which is what we have. We're slowly going the way of Europe. Europe, you may not know this, has gone from 90% per person GDP of America to 65%. That's what they've done. It was all policy. A lot of the policy done in the name of good. And that's what we do all the time. We're endless, rules and regulations that create these things. I also think you all should learn to call it not red tape, but blue tape. Blue tape. Okay? The Democrats love that crap. And then they want to make it litigious. That every flaw that ever happens is on purpose by bad people. So policy, we need good policy. And we're going to be fighting much more for good policy this year at JPMorgan.
So recently, there's been some comment by you about the independence of the Federal Reserve Board. What more might you want to say about your view about the importance of the independence of the Federal Reserve Board?
Yeah, people, too much ink gets spilled on certain things. Everyone I know, including the President of the United States, says we need an independent Fed board. Most people I know, including the President of the United States, speak up about their opinion, which they're free to do. Some say it more aggressively than others. That's their right. The question is only about when certain things take place, and think of lawsuits and stuff like that, does it chip away at that independence? There's some spectrum. So you can say a little bit, you can say a lot, but you don't want to chip away too much, because if you chip away too much, in my view, this is my opinion, it will drive rates higher, not lower. That's all.
And that's not a job you would take. If the President of the United States said to you, I'd love you to be the chairman, you'll be very independent, you wouldn't take that.
I would so much more prefer this job than that job. That's a hard job, but I don't want to do that job.
Okay. So Warren Buffett more or less invented the idea of writing a letter to his shareholders that everybody reads. You have done the same, and now Warren Buffett's probably not going to write his letter anymore, and yours is widely read. How much time do you put into writing that letter, and do you get nervous that so many people are going to pay attention to every single word? You have to get it exactly right?
Yeah, I do all of that. So first of all, I've been reading his letters my whole life, and in fact, I got his letters from 1956 when it was a partnership in private, and he said you should speak to your shareholder like it's your smart sister or mother or something like that, explain to them what you're doing and why you're doing it. So I do that. I make a list of questions. I get the questions, I do it myself. I ask shareholders, I get my management team, or like, what is the most important stuff for JPMorgan? And I kind of make that list. I start writing. I spend a lot of time on it. Very often I use it to answer the question. I don't know the answer, and I actually do the work. So now I'm like doing a lot of research while I'm writing the letter to answer the question, what are we going to do? Is what we did the right thing? Should we do more of it? How are we going to use AI or open banking or whatever the question is, debanking? What is the real issue? Then I try to explain it in terms to our people. And then I started doing public policy, because no bank is actually much stronger than the country it lives in. And and Suzanne showed you that 3% growth versus 1% growth. You don't know how accurate that is about what it does. So I had done, this goes back, but America from 2000 to 2020 grew 2% a year. Had it grown 3% a year, which I think was eminently achievable, our GDP per person would be $20,000 more a year today, per person, which would afford a lot of safety nets, a lot of infrastructure, have a lot of taxes, and we didn't do it. And it's around basic things, so I started to do more of that. What are the things that we could do that can foster growth, secure the country, make it a healthier place, lift up all of our citizens? Here's another one. Almost all of the bad policies we have, the thing that inner city schools don't work, immigration policy, some of the stuff we do in immigration, permitting policies, schools, almost all of that hurts lower paid people more than anyone in this room. So in some ways, we could ignore it because it's not really affecting us directly because your kids don't go to those schools. You're not as worried about that. They have, the lower income folks have worse health care, worse job prospects. It's become intergenerational. Their schools don't work. They have more crime. And that's what we did. That was us. That was all policy. And, and then people stand behind ideology and morality, on both sides, thinking that they did stuff to fix it, and they didn't. And so I have a frustration around that. And obviously, I feel the same way about the security and resiliency things like permitting. I always make a list of how we do with mortgages and affordable housing. So we may start a new one called the American Dream. We do a lot to do mortgages, affordable housing, health care, skills, jobs. I would double the earned income tax credit or something like that. There are a lot of things we could do that would grow to 3% and help all of our citizens and secure the nation. And we better do it pretty quick because on the security side, we don't have forever.
Now, are you worried about the size of the U.S. debt? We have $38 trillion of debt. We're adding $2 trillion every year. Do you see any way that's going to be solved? And do you worry that this is going to impact the value of the dollar at some point?
Yeah, so so I agree with Chris. If you look at the economy today, there's a lot of good short-term things. Like think of this year. The one big, beautiful bill, there's a lot of stimulus. The Fed is buying bonds again. That's, they don't call it QE. I would, but it lifts up asset prices and stabilizes certain markets. Deregulation is real, and it's going to also drive animal spirits. A lot of investment coming to the United States and AI. That's all good, and that's probably going to drive stuff. I call this geopolitics and the deficit, I call those more like tectonic plates. They're difficult, they're moving, they may crash, we don't know, and we don't know when. So it isn't a 2026 issue, but our deficit is almost $2 trillion this year. Our total debt is $30 trillion, then it's going to be next year 32, then 34, then 37, then 40. It is not sustainable. It will not work eventually. I just don't know when that is. The best anecdote is growth. I mean, if you just model anything, growth will make up for it. And growth, I always tell people, good policy is free. Good policy is free, for God's sakes. Like we already spent $800 billion in K-12. Stopping people from building stuff, it's free. It'll create jobs, it'll create productivity. And so, yeah, that I do quite worry about that. I think that when we have time. We have time to get the policy right, to grow the economy, and then we're going to have to start making some other choices too.
So you know Warren Buffett and you admire him. Recently you hired somebody that was working for Warren Buffett and to come do some investing for you. Was that difficult to call Warren Buffett and say, I'm taking one of your people, or he didn't really care?
No, because I think it's a free country and people can make their own decisions. And I did call Warren, and he probably wouldn't have preferred it, but he said if he's going anywhere, at least he's going to you. He was on my board, so I knew him. And I'm thrilled to have him. He's just a high-class individual, a brilliant investor. I have a lot of incoming ideas to invest in. So you're going to see us do investments in some of these security and resiliency-related companies, from the venture side to more of a merchant banking, large type of deal or something like that. So, but he was an individual. He'd been with Warren for 16 years. He loved it. He was already thinking about what he really wanted to do in the next stage of his life. But this was like a patriotic move. It's different. He's loving it. He has an office on our floor. He's seen people we all know all the time. And it's been just a great add to the company. So,
of all the things you do, is the most enjoyable getting to meet with members of Congress? When you come down here, is that an uplifting experience when you come down to meet with members? How do you like that?
So you should know, I do it all the time. I think it's it's part of my job. Like years ago, I said, government is another line of business. It is. We take it seriously, and to make an important point here, and the chamber does this, which I think they do a great job. Congratulations, Suzanne and Ross. You got to get engaged. It's very easy to say no. There are a lot of people in the Congress, House and Senate, who want to do the right job, and they need help to do the right job. I'm not insulting their intelligence; they're quite bright, but they need the research, the facts, the analysis to figure out what to do when these complex issues come up. So I think we all need to do it. And the only thing I'd urge you all to do when you do it, don't always make it parochial about your own self-interest. It should also be about what's in the interest of the United States of America. You're all going to do fine anyway. And there's just too much. This happens from everyone. It happens from unions and government and businesses where the self-interest is so high, it actually is part of why we have 2% growth. And I think we should all like open our eyes a little bit, make sure we do the right things. You know, it's okay to fight for you, you know, for your own interest, but there's too much of that going on.
A lot of people in the top levels of financial world have found it difficult to have only one spouse. You've managed to have one spouse for how many years now?
I have a wonderful, unbelievable spouse, but one is enough.
Okay. All right. And so what do you do in your spare time? I mean, you can't be working all the time. Do you have any hobbies? Do anything other than worry about the JPMorgan?
Yeah, so my daughters, who I also love deeply, and I have wonderful son-in-laws, once said to me, Dad, you need more hobbies. And I was like, wait, what are you talking about? We take all our family vacations together, you know, around the world. We enjoy it. I love history. I love wine. I love music. I love reading. I love arts. I love, we watch movies together. That's what I like.
Okay.
You know, I mean, I'm not looking to do other stuff. And we hike together. We used to play tennis together. I can't play tennis anymore. So that's what I like. Those are my sports. We all do the gym together. We have lunches and dinners together. We have family dinners like almost every Saturday or Sunday night. That's what I like. And that's what I'm going to do until I'm no longer here.
And do you, have you ever had your credit card denied? I mean, you have a lot of, I mean, has anybody ever denied Jamie Dimon?
Yes. My own credit card has denied me several times. And I'm sitting there.
And what do you do? You tell them who you are?
Well, it doesn't work to tell them who you are. They don't know who I am. Fortunately, I'm usually with someone else, and I said, take your card out. But it's sometimes for very good reason, because the card was stolen, and that number would be used, and they would just want to stop it. We have better algorithms now where, you know, even if my card was stolen, if I'm going to the same restaurant I've always gone to, it can get approved. You know, even though the number is already out in the marketplace trying to be used to buy TVs or jewelry somewhere, something like that. The most annoying, and I get these complaints, and very often I get complaints, they say, well, that's our rules. I'm like, they say, yeah, that may be our rule, but it's not the way to treat someone. And, you know, like we had someone who didn't pay, a very good client. They had a credit card. They spent, you know, thousands of dollars a month. They always didn't pay on time, which happens to some of you too. And then the wife went to buy a bagel at a bagel store and it got turned down. And I'm like, really? Really? Is that how we should treat her? Change the goddamn policy, you know? And like, because they hadn't paid $100 minimum balance or something like that. No. So yeah, you have to fight hard to make everything better all the time. And the first way you do that is you and your teams should read these things, like customer complaints, go to the call centers, go to the branch. I ask people at the branch, what's the biggest complaint you have? And sometimes they tell me, I say, why do we do that? You know, why would we do that? You know, from opening, like I remember going in Chicago, it was freezing out, and the branch was supposed to open at 10. There's all day hanging out. You know, it's 10, it's 10:01, and they finally open the rest. And they say, well, that's the rule. They can't open until 10. I said, when that little lady's next time, open the door. Give her a hot cup of coffee. So now I mandate, you got to open the doors, which we better still be doing, by the way, 10 or 15 minutes ahead of time. I don't want to hear that crap. Treat people the way you want to be treated, and if our policies don't work, rewrite them.
Now, did your parents live to see your success, and what did they say? Did they say, we always knew you were going to be the CEO of JPMorgan, it was going to do well, or what did they say?
My mom had a little of that. You'll be a general one day or something like that. But they both died in 2016, literally together in the same bed, same within 12 hours of each other. So they got to see, you know, a lot of it, and we're quite proud. My grandparents were all Greek immigrants who didn't finish high school. So I'm part of that story. And they instilled in all of us, you know, values, and the values were have a purpose, work hard, make the world a better place, treat everyone properly and equally. And they got to see that. So they're proud of all of their sons. My twin brother's an educator. My older brother is a physicist. And so it wasn't about, my dad was a broker, you know, but it wasn't about going to financial services. It was about, you know, making the world a better place. Values I'm sure a lot of you have.
Do you have a twin brother?
I have a twin brother.
And is that easy being Jamie Dimon's twin brother, you think?
No, he loves me, and vice versa. And, you know, having a twin brother is an unbelievable thing. And so, of course, early on we fought and up. He got close over time. We adore his wife. He comes over to a lot of those family dinners. You know, and when I had cancer, he came to see me every freaking day.
And you're fully recovered now from your cancer?
Yeah, no, I'm fully recovered, yeah.
And how many times do people think that you are, because you're in the financial service world, you're Jewish? Do you get a lot of that? Did you get a lot of that?
It's that, and my name is Dimon, but it would have been Demetriou. So it's like an Ellis Island shortened name. And my wife's last name was Kent, and she is Jewish. So a lot of people do.
So final question.
But my kids, I mean, I hate anti-Semitism. So let me just make that clear. And it should be fought everywhere, all the time.
Final question. What would you like people to know the most about JPMorgan? If they walk away from here today, what would you like people to take back in their head about JPMorgan, about what it is, what it's done, or what it stands for?
That we will stand by good clients in thick or thin, that we always try to be better, that we are strong, but that strength is for you, that we want the community to be better, we want your companies to be better, we want the country to be better. We'll do our part making this a better world. And we do it with a forethought and with every sinew of our bodies to try to do the best we can. And God knows we make mistakes. We will say we made a mistake, we're sorry, and we'll fix it. That's what we'll do. And
well, congratulations on your success. Thanks for being here.
David, thank you. Enjoyed it.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. Bye.
Thank you. Folks, thank you very much.
Please welcome CEO of Madison Air and Vice Chair of the Board of the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, Jill Wyatt.
Feeling very inspired today, and Chris, I will tell you, if you're still in the room, I am a delighted Hilton Diamond member, and I have never felt younger now that I know I'm the only person who can read the products in the bathroom. We walk away today armed with new insights thanks to the conversations we have been lucky to hear today, and thank you, Suzanne, for your very powerful statement of purpose, and to the